Hey guys, Jacob Howard here, and today we are going to go over some of the advanced freestyle tricks you can do. We are going to use the simulator because it gives you, as the viewer, valuable information on what moves we are doing, as well as gives you the opportunity to follow along with what we are showing you. We're going to be doing all of these moves in acro mode, so make sure you are in acro mode before you follow these instructions. Most freestyle tricks are usually combinations of simple tricks chained together. However, there is a list of advanced or expert tricks that can be very difficult to do even for advanced pilots. When attempting some of these tricks, be prepared to bend or break props. You'll be crashing even after simulator practice. Knife edge gap. Knife edge flying is when you cut the throttle to 0, roll your drone 90 degrees, and fly sideways for a second or so. Note that as soon as your drone is sideways, it will start to drop. Doing this while in an open area is not too hard to do. What makes this trick difficult is when you attempt to fly through a gap that horizontally your drone would not fit through. Thus, you have to fly through the gap sideways. We recommend first trying and practicing this trick in the open or in large gaps, then moving to smaller gaps. To do a knife edge gap, you first need to find a suitable gap. Finding a tree with a skinny vertical gap will be your best bet. You don't want it to be so skinny that there is no room for error, just skinny enough so that if you tried to fly through horizontally, the tips of your spinning props would touch the sides. There are two ways you can perform this, depending on the gap. If you have a clear approach from above, you can fly forward towards the gap, getting some good momentum, then cut throttle to 0, roll your drone 90 degrees right or left, and fall or slide on a downward angle through the gap. Then roll 90 degrees back to level flight. The other way to do this is to approach the gap from slightly below it, then when getting near it, pitch forward, blip the throttle to pop your drone forward and up high enough, cut throttle to 0, and then roll 90 degrees right or left to clear the gap. Then roll 90 degrees back to level flight. This trick can be very hard to master as it depends a lot on timing and precision flying, but it's very satisfying when you can pull it off perfectly. You can also get bonus style points if after you clear the gap you finish off the move by completing the rest of the roll. Bonus points are not redeemable on planet Earth. Inverted yaw spins. Inverted yaw spins can be great fun but tricky to master. The goal is to flip or roll upside down, then perform a 360 yaw spin, stop in the same direction you were facing, and then flip or roll back to level flying. Now, it sounds easy when you talk about it, but when you are actually upside down, doing that yaw spin can be very disorienting. To do an inverted yaw spin, you want to start up high with plenty of altitude. Cut throttle to 0, then flip or roll 180 degrees. It's easier to start out with just a 180 roll. Then immediately yaw spin left or right 360 degrees, stop, and then flip or roll another 180 back to level flying. To do an extra clean inverted yaw spin, you will need to mix in some roll while doing the yaw spin to make it look flat. This means that while you're upside down and spinning, you try to keep the horizon flat in your view. Lookbacks. A look back is basically going over or through an object, then flipping or yawing 180 to look back at the object while flying backwards. There are several different ways you can do this, and we will go over a few. Yaw look back. First, you will want to find an object to look back at. To start off, we recommend a tall tree. Start by flying at the tree mid-level, then as you get close to the tree, punch the throttle to pop your drone over it, cut the throttle to 0, then yaw 180 degrees to look back, and just let your momentum carry the drone for a moment. Then bring the throttle back up and continue flying in a new direction or yaw 180 back to the direction you were headed. Inverted look back. Start by flying at the tree mid-level. Then as you get close to the tree, punch the throttle to pop your drone over it, cut the throttle to 0, then pitch forward or back to look back and let your momentum carry the drone for a moment. Then you can roll or pitch 180 to get out of the move and continue flying. Gap look back. This is where you will fly through a gap, then perform the look back. You will want to fly through the gap and then flip or yaw 180 degrees to look back at the gap. The tricky part about gap lookbacks is you are normally closer to the ground when doing them, so you will need to be quick and know what move you will make to recover from the look back. Feel free to try this any way you want, keeping in mind that you want to build up speed and momentum to fly over objects before looking back. It's best to fly in an upwards arc and look back when you're at the top of the arc so that you have enough time to recover. Matty flip. A matty flip is like a power loop, but instead of doing a long circular back flip, you are doing a long circular front flip. This can be a very challenging move because for part of the move, you can't see the ground when you are accelerating toward it. To do a matty flip, it's best to find something to flip around that you can keep in the camera view. This can be hard because you will want to find something that is high off the ground, but also parallel to the ground to flip around. A streetlight could be a good object to try, but keep in mind there is usually pavement or concrete under streetlights. So if a mistake is made, there could be bad consequences. Start off by approaching the object from above with some forward momentum. Then as you pass over the object, you will want to cut throttle and pitch forward to keep the object in view. Continue pitching forward. Then as you begin to fall past the object, add more pitch and raise the throttle to bring the drone back under the object while still keeping it in view. Continue to pitch and add throttle to continue through the rest of the loop until you are back over top of the object. It's highly recommended to practice this in the simulator before trying it in the real world, as this move can be very dangerous to your drone. You will be accelerating towards the ground, and if your pitch angle is not correct, you will hit the ground going fast. Rubik's Cube. A Rubik's Cube is another fun trick to learn. It's a mixture of flips and a roll, but with the added difficulty of performing it while inverted. You will want a good amount of altitude and can start off in a hover or forward flight. First, cut the throttle to 0. Then pitch back 180 degrees. Then quickly roll left or right a full 360 degrees. Then backflip 180 to exit the move. Like most tricks, being able to stop your flips and rotations at the right moment and return to the correct starting location will be the key to completing the move correctly. Inverted Split S. An inverted split S is where you do a half roll, but instead of dropping the throttle and pitching back like with a split S, you will pitch forward and add more throttle to climb up through a half loop. To do this, you will need a little bit of altitude and be in a forward flight. First, roll 180 degrees, then immediately start pitching forward and adding throttle. Keep pitching forward until you level back out and are flying in the reverse direction. For a small part of the move, you will be falling toward the ground, so it's advisable to do this trick with some altitude. You can also blip the throttle to give your drone a little upwards momentum before performing the trick. Remember, these tricks are meant to be difficult, so try them in the simulator first until you learn the stick movements, and keep trying until you get them down. Feel free to improve, change, or improvise on any of these tricks. The key is to have fun and not crash. If you guys have any questions or tricks you'd like to see us teach, definitely let us know, and have fun flying.